Very good.
Yeah, I got you. I got what?
Hi, everyone.
No.
This is July 17th, and we're going to be talking about Islamophobia and the Red Scare and other things along those lines. So, Jared is the one who brought this topic up, and hopefully he'll join soon. But let's start with oh, Leo, I bet you didn't have time to look up an icebreaker since you're driving. Okay. All
No,
right.
I didn't. Sorry.
Okay. Well, we'll just go with the baseball theme since Marco got to do a baseball camp. So so we'll start with our introductions. Just name the name you want to be called tonight, your pronouns, and the answer to do you have a favorite baseball team? So you want to start?
Mama, I be my. I be my, mama. You got it. Thank you.
Okay, so what's your name?
Michael, I got the wig.
You like what?
The wig you.
The Rangers team?
Yeah, go.
Nice. Okay, I'm Carol, she, her, and after Marco's amazing baseball camp, which had a whole baseball team helping us, I'm going to say the Santa Fe Fuego. So, Suzette, you want to go next? Okay. Leo?
Oh, it's
Okay.
okay. I'm here. Suzette, she, her, and I was looking for the name of the baseball team from a league of our own. Because
Oh,
I've
nice.
never really been a big baseball fan, but when I lived in Seattle, I used to go to all the girls' softball games.
Oh, nice.
And so to me, it was more the not professional baseball and more the women's softball.
Nice.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Leo, can you talk while you're driving?
Yes. Hi, everybody. My name is Leo. Pronouns he, him, and I would have to say the Houston Astros.
Hmm.
Nice. Nice. Okay, Kate?
Hi, my name is Kate. I've never used pronouns my entire life, but if I was, I guess it'd be she, her. Uh, of course, mine is my favorite team is also the Astros because uh, a lot of sentimental history with the Astros with my parents when 30, 40 years ago, they used to go to the Astros games for $10 and they'd bring their own lunch. So a lot of history in my family with the Astros.
Oh, nice. Nice. That's beautiful. Okay, Lynn?
Oh, Lynn, she, her. I don't really have a favorite baseball team. Typically, I follow whatever
Yeah, we got.
professional teams I happen to be
Oh, Sunday.
in the city, at the city that I'm living in, because baseball has just never been one of my favorite sports. So if I knew the name of the girls softball team in the movie, I would that would be my favorite.
Okay. Gregor?
Gregor, he, they. Um, yeah, I would say the Astros, but since I'm from Wisconsin, I'm going to have to go with the Milwaukee Brewers, who I don't think have ever won a World Series, or if they did, it was so long ago I couldn't even remember it.
All right. Well, um,
I looked up some stuff on Islamophobia if you want me to open with it.
please.
Okay. Okay. All right. So I know everyone has heard the term before, I'm sure. It's just another thing that we are culturally trying to wrap our heads around. But Islamophobia is personal and socially urgent. And it's not just about religious bias or cultural misunderstanding. It's about how fear, stereotypes, and misinformation can shape policies, influence communities, and harm real people. So today we want to learn, listen, and hold space for experiences that are often marginalized. And whether you're here to share your story, ask questions, or learn more, we're going to do our best to respect those people in that space and try to understand where their uh, place in society is at the moment and how we can, as Christians, be more accepting and understanding. And if there's anything we can do to participate in helping make that community feel more welcome, then that's what we always aim to do at God Talk. But I think that I hate to go straight to politics, but our current administration has decided, right off the bat that some countries were uh, not allowed to fly into the United States based on the fact that a lot of their citizens were Islam from different countries, and it's not just a Middle Eastern religion. It's also something you can find in Africa and Asia. So it's I don't know a lot about it, to be honest with you.
So
And
I
hi,
actually,
Ed. We just did our little icebreakers, and I was kind of trying to talk about what is Islamophobia. That was our
Yes.
topic for this evening, and how, you know, I was saying I didn't want to politicize everything, but that it just feels like that it has been further politicized by the current administration, and that there was a no-fly order from a number of countries in Africa and the Middle East coming from the fact that they were, um, you know, had a majority of Islam religious people in those countries. So,
Okay.
so if that is something you know more about than we do, we would hope that you would share with us because I'm not that I don't want to know more, but I haven't been exposed enough to it.
Oh, I really liked, maybe you could repeat the one sentence where you said, how fear and misunderstanding. Would you just repeat that
Mhm.
sentence?
Um, so it's a deeply personal and socially urgent topic. And it's not just about religious bias or cultural misunderstanding. It's about how fear, stereotypes, and misinformation can shape policies, influence communities, and harm real people. So I have experience with the Hindu religion because I have a lot of girls in my that work with me from India, but I am very ignorant when it comes to the Islam religion, and I don't know a lot about it.
Okay, that's a really good one. Okay, Krieger.
okay, so I asked for a definition, and Islamophobia is the fear, prejudice, discrimination, or hostility directed at Islam or Muslims. It can manifest as negative stereotypes, hate speech, violence, or discrimination against individuals or groups perceived to be Muslim. Islamophobia often intersects with racism, as it can target people based on their perceived ethnicity, culture, or appearance in addition to their religious affiliation.
Very good, very good. And of course, I mean, we saw the big spike in after 9/11. Jared.
So, like, yeah, there is like thankfully now, in these most recent years, there are quite a few media sources that represent the Islamic experience, right? And template that for people that is actually available for people. Like there is a movie called No Other Land, which is literally just the documented like genocide that is occurring in Palestine, and like how people are literally being forced off their land, forced off their, for no reason, by soldiers. And you actually get to know a lot about the culture of the people who live there, right? And there is like a fun Netflix, I guess you would say, comedy slash I guess life documentary, autobiography piece entitled Mo, where there is a famous comedian named Mo Abshir, was born in Palestine, and he literally immigrated here and has to deal with a lot of the stuff that the Latino community does, right? And he, while retaining his Islamic faith, right? And like working within the bounds of the system. It's actually really, really compelling because the place he immigrates to is Houston, Texas. And like you get to see a lot of the way in which the cultures of Houston, the cultures of the Latino community, and the cultures of the Islamic community, right, like mingle together. And like really there's so many similarities, right? These are recommendations that I would give to each of you, because we've seen so many templates of the same person falling in love with the same person, and saving the same person from the same situation. Like but we've never really get any representation. So like that's kind of where the space of ignorance comes in, where we don't really get to witness Islamic voices.
Could you repeat the names of the documentary and the movie that you?
Movie is No Other Land, because I mean, where else are they gonna go? And the Netflix series is called Mo, M-O.
Okay.
Like Big Mo.
Okay, Suzette. Oh, you're muted.
Oh, you're muted.
So I'm going to be vulnerable with my ignorance and say, so the Palestinians are mostly Islam? Is that is that part of this?
The most oldest Christians that have ever existed are Palestinian, but the majority is that does carry the Islamic faith sometimes, depending upon if you're talking about like the occupants and the people who are in obviously.
So I was not that shows you how little I know. I wasn't really aware. I knew the two different countries or the two different cultures, but I didn't really know. I knew one was Christian, right? 'Cause that's what we are. And I didn't know a lot about the Palestinians and what it was that was separating them so badly from the Christians. So I guess I get that now. And then my second question is so your Filipino heritage and Hispanic heritage, and do you see an intersection anywhere with the Islam religion in those cultures?
Oh, absolutely. They fast they fast just like the Catholics do
Okay.
for 40 days from
Is that the Ramadan or there's some stuff like that? Yeah.
I've been lucky enough to have always worked with people that are that are Islamic, the Islamic faith, and usually they have to go pray several times a day. But the two guys that I currently work with, one of his name is Suja, the other one is Navid, and they usually pray at 2 p.m. I think it's at 2 p.m. is when they go to lunch actually, and at 1 is when they pray. And I've talked to them, and I think what's wrong now with humanity is that we see all this negativity on the news, and 911 didn't help. 9/11, I'm sorry, 9/11 didn't help. So like I tell my husband all the time, I was like, we don't get to sit down with people anymore and get to actually know them. We just see everything on the media and believe everything that that anyone just goes on there and says. But no, they're great people.
Yeah.
They go on trips, and they always bring me little trinkets, little gifts. Yeah.
I have a horror story from when I was a lot younger. And I was just starting my business. I got called by someone who wanted to have, for me to do some marketing for them. And when I got there, everyone was dressed in what I'm assuming was the Islam clothing and things like that. And so they invited me into their boardroom to have a talk about my stuff. And there were these little rugs all over in the boardroom, and I accidentally walked on one, and the guy had a heart attack. Like accidentally stepped on his prayer rug, and I had no idea what I was doing. So this is part of the education. While that might be a little funny story, it made me feel horrible. Like I was mortified that that happened because I was ignorant of the fact that I didn't know. I wasn't in tuned to what was happening. But
Yeah.
it's just part of the ignorance, and just needless to say, they never called me back. So I didn't get the job.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a prayer room at work, and we
Yeah.
2 prayer mats, a chair, and I think they have to face east to pray. So they have a little sticker with an arrow to tell them where east is at. Yeah.
And I think it's an honorable thing. I think it's honorable that they have brought that tradition with them, and they do it in plain sight, right? So that we can we can know it, and in my instance, I should have asked more questions. I should have learned more about it. It would have been great for me to go home and study up on what just happened, but that was the old me.
Of course, we're all figuring it out, right? And whenever it's just like when we first are introduced to people who are transgender, right? And we are navigating the language that we have to unlearn, right?
The pronouns.
And like the pronouns, right? And we are just stumbling around, and we're feeling so embarrassed because, oh, I don't want to say the wrong thing, or I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, right? And like a lot of what it is we have to have the courage to educate ourselves first, right? But also to make mistakes, right? Because those mistakes are important. And to answer your original question, Suzette, like you asked me if I see connections between like my cultures, right? And the Islamic cultures, and absolutely, right? Like the close communal, not like tightly knit family, non-hierarchical structure, right? Where the women are actually the ones that run every, like are in charge, right? The food right? Like the actual there's even a joke in the in like the Mo documentary that goes something like nuns are like the original hijabs, right? Like where like there's this community-based culture of like, hey, we're just trying to figure out how to survive occupation, that I personally I identify with. It's like it's so familiar. Like it looks like brown people just trying to survive American capitalism. Like, yeah, that's tales of time, song as old as rhyme. And there are dissimilarities too, because they do have nuance in their culture too, right? And just like everybody else, right? And so like getting to know those things is so essential, because like when you like, for instance, coming from a therapy background, right? Like the clients that are right, you really have to honor large chunks of their culture. You really have to do your home. You really have to be very, very respectful in the way that you navigate them, because not only is it like cultural tradition, but also you have the constant reinforcing of being in a system of that oppresses you for your culture. So this sort of like these if they practice their belief systems, it's so important for them to do that. And so there's the trauma of people harming them for that they often have to revisit when people don't speak with them or try to understand them.
Okay, Krager?
Quite frankly, the most experiences I've ever had with Muslims or Islamics, ironically, is both times that I have been to Germany, especially the big metropolitan areas in Germany like Munich and oh my God, what's the other city? The big one in the Berlin. And of course, most of that experience had to do with food. And so, yeah, I love shawarma and biryani and all that stuff. But it kind of like they had little neighborhoods, like you have your little Chinatown in San Francisco. You had your little neighborhoods in Germany, and so that's the extent of my exposure. And so a lot of these people, I got the impression that they spoke three languages: German, English, and their original native tongues, because Germany took in a lot of refugees over the years, and so that that became it's a big point of contention now. Um, just like you can imagine in most white European countries, letting in too many kinds of different people causes the white majority to get really nervous, and just what's going on here. So anyway, I just wanted to share that because I just keep, what would I actively do in Austin, Texas, South Austin, Texas, because I'm not going to drive more than 5 miles. How would I actually go get myself in front of a group of Muslim people and say, I'd like to get to know just a little bit more about y'all?
Well, that's a really good point, and let me address that one first. The church that I went to in Las Cruces was it was called First Christians. It was it was two denominations, for Disciples of Christ, and I can't remember what the other one was. Anyway, it was a very affirming church, and they kind of mentored me, and they let me use their facilities and the advice of the wonderful pastor there for trying to get an MCC started, not a Sunday morning church, but dinner church. And anyway, so we did this this extended study, and we ended up watching all these films, both about Islam and about the Jewish culture and practices, and then we got together with the communities, the synagogue and the what do you call it, the Muslim mosque, the mosque. Yeah, and so that was really enlightening, and I think I thought that was incredibly helpful for a church to do, to help us understand each other and meet personally and have like dialogue, and then like potluck and stuff like that. That was wonderfully helpful. Well, maybe we didn't have potluck. I don't remember what we did. Yeah, I think one of them hosted the food. So there are so many dietary rules among both cultures that potluck might be dangerous. Uh, but anyway, but I had some other personal experiences, just like when I was in med school, there was a group of us. I don't know how I got kind of to the blessing of being part of just a um, national multicultural group, but we had a group that involved two Baha'i women, both from different Middle Eastern countries, one Muslim, one Catholic from Cuba, and then me. And and a guy from China, and I can't, and I and anyway, so I got invited to like a Ramadan feast, and I worked with some other Muslim people in residency, and I like to like ask them questions. They would like when we were on call in the evenings, they would like all get their food and then sit there while someone, because the Ramadan fast is from sunup to sundown, and Ramadan changes in the season, so people are always happy, or it's easier, I should say, when it happens in the winter months and the days are shorter. But and when they fast, I mean, they don't even drink water. I mean, there are some exceptions, like if you're pregnant or something like that. But I mean, they don't do anything from sunup to sundown, not even water. So they would have somebody watching at the window when they got their food to see exactly the moment that the sun set, and then they would all dig in. So anyway, so I got invited to some of those feasts, and got to share some opinions and things, and also worked with a Muslim student at another time. But I think the person who lectured me on it the most was a lady I sat by on the plane one time, who wanted to school me on not ordering a drink, so and the dangers of alcohol. So that's one thing that's really strong in Islam, I think, is the ban against alcohol. Um, anyway, so that was some of my experience, but I think the thing I mainly wanted to share was how wonderful it was to have a church that have a group that consciously said, let's try to understand each other in within our community. Let's get together and get to know, and just get to know each other better. So that was if that sparks any seeds in anybody's mind, I hope that would be just exciting if we could um, learn more in that way together. Jared, sorry I talked so long.
Oh, no, no worries. And
Maybe-
that, to your point, don't worry if you step on, on their, prayer mat by accident. They definitely show mercy to me when I committed. I guess it was something much worse.
Yeah.
I used to work with Uma, and Uma would always bring us food, right? She would always bring us food, and then one time she invited us to her parents' restaurant. So we went, and Uma was, I guess you could say, very Americanized. So she would give you a hug when she would see you at work, right? She was very loving. So she would give you a hug. So, we get to the restaurant and I see Uma and I give her a hug and she's like, no, 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 no. And then as soon as I give her a hug, like everybody at the restaurant, like literally turns around and like, what are you doing hugging this woman? Like, you're not, they didn't say anything, but just the looks, like everybody turned. And I was just like, I am so sorry. And she's like, no, you're fine. She's like, but just, yeah. Yeah. I didn't know that was, their customs. So yeah. But.
Mm-hmm. And it's like to your question, like the Baha'i, faith is absolutely really, really great for, meeting at the intersections of belief systems. Absolutely. But there's also a lot of pro-Palestinian, Islamic organizations, right? That are always happy to interact with you, right? Like there are, like, for instance, like in the Houston area, like there's like an organization that organizes protests for actual like people who are connected to people in positions of power, right? Who are living in the Houston area, right? Where they, like protest their homes or protest their whatevers, right? Because of Islamophobic behaviors and Islamophobic, like, just things that they've like voted for and vied for and lobbied for, right? And, a lot of these organizations are filled with practicing Muslims that are, just want to get the word out and spread the visibility about how human the culture is, right? How human they are. And, like these are great, like, spaces where people are protesting for their rights is always the best intersection to find out what the culture is all about. Because at, like, for instance, at the ICE protest, right, the No Kings protest, right, you'd have like people like cooking lots of Latino food. You had the huge Latino community there, right? Like you had all that love, right? All that love in that space, right? Where all you needed to do was just ask somebody, right? All you need to do is reach out and, and talk to somebody in these spaces, right? And you would clearly figure these things out, right? Because we are here to be seen as representatives of our culture, of our people in these spaces. It's different to when you're like, I'm at a mall and I approach someone who's Islamic, right? Versus like a protest space where literally my personhood is on the line, where I'm having to like represent my people here, right? It's a great space. I would recommend 10 out of 10.
Jared, you said something earlier when you first came on that I wonder if you would expand on a little bit, because it's kind of hard for me to unpack. Well, maybe it's just because of some of the stereotypes, but you said this was a very non-hierarchical culture, and I guess I've always thought of it as more like male dominant and I've read so many books that are set like in countries where where the what do they call it, like there's another name for it, but like the morality police and some Middle Eastern countries where so many women just get anyway, I'm just going to stop there and ask you to expound on that a little bit.
So there's been multiple studies about like the reasons why hate crimes are a thing, right? And you know, like there's this weird, maybe potentially random, like duality where the occupied Palestine, right? You know, and the hate crimes, you know, like that are like there, right? It like exists statistically, and it's compared to the Bible Belt, and it's the most rural parts, and I mean the most disenfranchised parts, right, of America, right? And it's like a one-to-one ratio on like hate crimes, right? It seems like, I don't know, the more people are pushed into desperate conditions, the more they're likely to double down on religious fundamentalism and religious fervor and the persecution complexes attached to our belief systems, than in spaces where we are nurtured and loved and treated compassionately and shown more liberal ideologies, right? It seems like life or death sometimes causes people to act up on these sort of things. And so I also say that Christianity has that exact same stereotype attached to it. And, you know, like to this day, to this second, you take anyone outside of America and ask them what the stereotypes are about America, right? Oh, they keep slaves, right? Oh, they hate Black people, right? We don't murder Black people here in Asia, right? Like we don't do that here, but they really, really hate Black people, right? And they also hate women, right? Like you have all those exact same stereotypes that exist in other spaces here, and it's kind of funny how you know, these sort of hate crimes that occur in a place that's being bombed daily to this second, and I mean second, right, are reported on as like the entire description of the space, considering what is currently happening here with the police brutality situation, and with the wife beating statistics of ICE agents and police officers. You know, like it's really important to deconstruct a lot of the propaganda that we've been fed, because these ideas, they create this artificial division. Like, you know, poor Muslim people are much more harmful and hateful towards women and gays than a normal Southerner, right? Like there's this ideology that is pushed, and I wonder why it is. It's like there was some sort of oil war or something going on during that time period, or so. I couldn't possibly understand the reasons why the medias and these people in positions of power would other brown people. Brown people, what? Why would you other a brown person?
It's funny that he says that, because me on my desk, I have my gay pride flag and I have my Mexican flag, right? Those are the two flags that I have on my desk. And I've never bluntly told them that I'm gay, but hello, I have a gay flag on my desk. What more do you need? And these two guys that I currently work with, they are so cool. I know that they do not care if I'm gay or whatever, because they both connect with me on a daily basis, and they're friendly, they're genuine. But yeah, I guess it's just a stereotype that, you know, that the media has us believing that all Muslims are bad.
Yeah, just more brown people hating stuff, more colorism. You know how it is.
Yeah.
Krager?
Yeah, so it says several Muslim majority countries and regions, guided by their interpretation of Sharia law, legally impose the death penalty for consensual same-sex relations. These include Iran, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Afghanistan, Mauritania, northern Nigeria, Somalia, and the United Arab Emirates. So what about all of that?
Absolutely. Aren't all these places occupied by some sort of warring forces that are brutalizing their economy and devastating everything that is a part? Like it's like we think that these things happen, they just happen, right? Like gay people weren't being lynched alongside Black people, right? Like America is somehow superior because it currently isn't being bombed. Like, when we were at war with the Native Americans, right? We were barbaric, right? When we were experiencing a lot of the Civil War era, right, infighting, where everyone was at everybody's necks, right? We were barbaric, right? It wasn't laws. People were just killing people, right? Nothing was reported. And so it's really important to remember the effects of an occupying country, what that would even do to a person's psychology. Do y'all remember what it was like in your abusive relationships? Do you remember how misguided we were, how we would lash out on anything? I remember being a teenager and hating a lot of things right? Because of the abuse that I went through.
I guess I don't understand the I mean, a lot of those countries he said are not occupied. Are they?
Good question. So that's a good question. Yeah, a lot of them are being devastated by European economies.
Iran, Saudi Arabia,
mhm.
Yemen.
Oils.
Now Afghanistan, who knows? The Russians are there, Americans are there. Who's not in Afghanistan?
Oil.
But I mean, I guess when I hear the word occupied, I think of like another country being in and controlling the government. And
Yes.
I mean, you're talking about like an economic occupation, not like a martial, law occupation.
I don't see the difference that you see, but if that is the distinction that you would like to make, I'd love that. That's a good one too.
Well, the Khomeini was not elected in Iran.
That's true. That is true.
None of these people were elected. None of these rulers.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay.
So I guess Leo is just testifying to the fact that his coworkers would not assassinate him just because they found a flag on his desk.
Okay. Yeah, we're certainly don't want to, that would, I'm just trying to understand, some of the cultures. I certainly don't want to, propagate any stereotypes. So.
And even though the Nelda picture behind Nelda looks like Nelda at the Statue of Liberty, it reminds me of Mary Tyler Moore.
Hi, Nelda.
Hi, Nelda.
If you haven't figured out, we're talking about Islamophobia.
That picture was actually taken when I landed back in the United States from my trip in Europe, and they had just passed the gay marriage bill.
Oh,
and yes,
2015.
It was pretty cool to see all the flags. Everybody was unfurling American flags and gay pride flags everywhere. It was so cool to see that we were being supported in Europe. and celebrating with us. So it's literally, and you can't really see the look on my face. I'm single. I've been single, but I was so happy for all of you.
Yeah. Yes, that was a wonderful victory, and I hope nobody is sitting on their laurels thinking that's the last one we need. um, okay, well, I this this may just lead to a discussion for another time. We're getting toward the end of our time, so I don't want to like start a whole new segue or anything, but you when you proposed this, you talked about the Red Scare, as part of the same subject. So, do you want to just speak to that for a minute?
Oh, absolutely.
And
I think we need an entire thing on the importance of like deconstructing a lot of the propaganda that we've been fed, like that. That's yeah. Like I don't yeah. I 100% think that we need an entire like segment on a lot of our fears of people who are Asian, and communist propaganda and like anti-communist and anti-socialist stuff, right? Like it absolutely, right? Like that's something that needs its own time period.
yeah, that's I think there have been a lot of countries that, I mean, it wasn't just the US, that I think we exported that fear to some other countries that underwent, what country was I just reading about? Was it Indonesia, I think, that um, that underwent just um, a huge um, extermination of a lot of people based on suspected belief systems. And yeah, I think it was funded quite a bit by the US.
Yeah, that
Uh,
happened a lot with any form of Black solidarity, specifically in America, right? Usually it was chalked up to communist propaganda, right? But a lot of the Black Panther Party, right? A lot of the original NAACP, right? You know, used and cribbed a lot of socialist messages because it's about community, it's about tribe, it's about, you know, oneness with peeps, right? And like if that doesn't bring the people together, then what does, right? And you know, but yeah, like absolutely. And to that point also, Islam was othered amongst Black communities as well, right? Whenever Black communities back in the 60s, back in the 70s, back in the 50s, right, were practicing, right, like this sort of fear right, of othering, right, where your religious system is different than mine, my Christian one, right, it's definitely, Islamophobia didn't begin with 9/11.
right. It just peaked. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
it just had a big spike.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
Starts
yeah,
600s.
Yeah, absolutely. Since the Crusade.
yeah.
My question is, how long have we been doing God Talk now?
Um,
Is it 2 years?
yeah. Our
2 years.
We're coming up on 2 years.
Right.
Coming up on 2 years.
Like October.
And okay, so at this point, we have talked about so many different subjects. If we literally go 52 weeks a year, we've talked about 104 different things. So maybe we should reserve like the last 10 minutes of God Talk to say whether or not our topic and how it has impacted us personally.
Oh,
And
that's nice. That's
and
nice.
gain a little bit more intimacy amongst the panelists of this call, so that we're not just talking about these subjects, but in cases when it applies, we can share how this topic has affected my life in whatever way. And I think that would make it, if we just take a little space toward the end and just leave it open. I mean, maybe some weeks it would be nothing, and maybe some weeks we would go, oh, we're gonna have a whole separate call about that.
Well, I was pretty intentional on a lot of the calls, especially in the first year, about trying to bring the ending toward how does this how does this speak to our image of God in it? And so anyway, I mean those topics may be connected in some cases, but Kreger, since you brought this up and we just have a few minutes left, why don't you say how Islamophobia has affected you personally, and if you have anything to say about God in there, then bring maybe you can weave that in.
Well,
That's
I don't know. It just always brings me back to God's a big creator, and there's all kinds of room for everything and everyone on the spectrum for God's universe. It's so big, our tiny minds can't possibly understand. And so I've got that. And then, like I said, I don't have a whole lot of personal experience with Islamic people outside of like my 2 trips to Germany. But, you know, like some stories I'd heard about gay people, like even, I don't know, that Resurrection at one point, someone was telling a story about someone, I forget what country, was beheaded when they were found having boy sex. And, so that scares the crap out of you. And so it's just nice to discuss, throw all this stuff out and hear what the different thoughts are about it. But overall, I believe that as a faith and, as a faith choice, Islam has, it's just as beautiful as every other faith choice there is, because God created all of it. As Lynn said, you're never ever going to look at another human being as long as you live and not see someone that wasn't created by God. So that's it.
Yeah, and reflects the divine image. I think that's a great reminder. And of course, Islam, Judaism, and Christianity all have Abrahamic roots. And so, we always have to remember that that we all grew from the same seed. I guess you could say. So yeah, it's interesting to look at those histories. Does anybody else have a 30 to 60-second take on how Islamophobia has affected you?
Take it away, Lynn. Just kidding. Just kidding. I mean, as a brown person, I love brown people. Like I'm for brown people, right? Like, as a fellow person of color, I gotta show solidarity for my people of color, right? Because ICE doesn't care if you like what shade of brown or where your ethnic background is. You will be imprisoned.
Okay. Well, this has been a fabulous discussion, and I really appreciate you all being here. I do, yeah. So I don't know if we'll do the Red Scare next week. I don't know. So maybe we need something lighter in between. I'll take suggestions on that. So feel free to.
I think maybe we could talk about
Gregor?
our own ethnicity, maybe like how our own ethnicity maybe affected us in our choices in life. Because it made a big difference in mine.
That's okay.
Something like that, maybe, or how we control. I think we maybe have touched on it a little bit here and there, but like,
Yeah,
okay.
I think
I went to some workshops at conference that talked about that in terms of, well, I mean, we talked about in terms of racism. It was the workshops were called "White People, My People" to talk about racism. To talk about racism, it was led by a wonderful woman who'd been doing work about racism with white people, because that's you know, I mean, we have to look in our own hearts, you know, we have to face our privilege. We have to take responsibility. And yeah, and she made a pretty provocative statement about the US, which I will bring up perhaps next week. That'll be a good time to bring it up.
And then
So
I have another suggestion. I mean, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but have each one of you take a topic that's near and dear to your heart and lead a session on it. Like, what would you think about that?
Drumming?
Is that
no, I think the next gen does a lot of that. They've given a good example, but they're structured a
Yeah.
little differently in that it's more of a teaching kind of moment, and we're kind of more everybody share
Yeah.
time. So I'm not like as moderating the session, I'm not bringing the topic. I'm not presenting anything in most cases. I mean, there were sometimes I did when I brought up some things that were not like common knowledge type subjects. But
Just maybe throwing the cards in the air a little bit.
yeah, but I love the suggestions, and y'all keep them coming, and feel free to I think you got my my email on the things that I send out, so feel free to send me suggestions and just give me your thoughts on upcoming subjects.
I have another subject request, and that's baptism. What are your thoughts about baptism? And
Okay.
when do you think it's appropriate to baptize yourself or a child? Because that's a question in my own mind for somebody in my life.
Oh, that's interesting.
And
Yeah, we should talk about rituals and baptisms. That's very.
I have never been dunked in a pool, but some people have. I
yes.
want to know what that's like.
All right, Lynn, finally going to speak. I want to hear what Lynn have to say before I close this out in prayer because I got to go. Come on, Lynn.
And it's totally
Lynn,
selfish.
go.
My birthday is Saturday, and my son's birthday is Saturday, so I'm accepting happy birthday wishes.
Happy
Hey,
birthday.
happy birthday.
Thank you.
No.
How's that for
Anybody's
like?
gonna sing, it should be Kreger.
Are we ready to close then?
Yes, let's close. Close us out, please.
Holy Spirit and Holy God, we are just so grateful to come together as a community. And Lord, we are not ones to avoid the controversial and the difficult and the tough questions and the tough topics. We get into all of it here on God Talk. And what a wonderful, safe space it is for us to be here as we are and just kick around thoughts and ideas. And maybe we grow a little bit spiritually each time we meet. That is our goal. And we're drawn closer to you or your mission, your justice mission in some way in our participation in this call. So we thank you for this opportunity. As we move forward through the rest of this week, we just pray for the steadiness, the one foot in front of the other, the one breath at a time, the getting the job done, the strength and the courage, and most of all, the love. We ask all these things in the holy name of Christ. Amen.
Amen. Here's everybody.
Love you.
Bye.
See you
Have a
next
great.
week.
Go. Happy birthday, Lynn.
Thank you.
Happy birthday. Enjoy and tell us about it next week.